Well, it's wonderful that Sam is doing this.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I'm delighted to meet you both.
Oh, you too. Do you have any children?
Yes, I have two younger brothers who still live in Paris.
Uh, okay.
I'm really from, except
Uh-huh.
that I was born in Germany, but
Oh,
my,
oh,
my brothers still live in Paris.
okay.
They are both in their 80s.
Oh, uh-huh. Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah, I have four brothers. I have two brothers and one sister, so we're four all together.
Ah,
But
right.
it was great meeting you. I'm gonna be behind the scenes. I'm gonna be helping my daughter, but we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, that's fine. It's nice
Okay.
meeting you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Bye.
Okay, we have in the waiting room just we have yeah, three people here, but okay, I think more are going to join, but I'm going to accept them. So,
Okay.
okay. Eva, for you to know, most of the people it's going to join, I think they're from Mexico actually. So yes, it's gonna be a really nice meeting, and thank you. Okay, hello everyone that is joining us, and we will wait a couple minutes for more people to join us. But thank you so much. I'm here with Eva, and she's also happy to be here to tell her story. I don't know if you want to say something right now, Eva.
To everybody, hi. What? Who? Me?
Yes, you.
I'm delighted to meet everybody if I can see their faces.
Oh yeah, of course. If you can turn on your camera so Eva can see you. But okay, we will just wait a couple minutes. I will see if more people it's going to join because yeah, I think they're going to join us right now. So okay.
So your mother still has the last name Schulman.
Yes, but well, with the other letters, she
Yeah,
just put it
with a
like
Z.
that because we
Yes.
love it, you know. But
Yeah.
yes. So okay, hello. Well, Diana is from Mexico. Anna, I don't know if I know you, but maybe you're from Mexico. And Marcos is from Spain, but I think he's having problems with the audio, but he's trying to connect it. Okay, so we will wait like 3 minutes more. People usually like come along. Maybe they are, I don't know, 5 minutes late or something, but they join the meeting. So I'm going to also, well, if Facebook lets me, because sometimes Facebook, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to stream live this meeting in Facebook, so more people can watch it. So it would be nice if,
And there's one.
yes, if you can share it. Okay, we are now 7 here. Let's wait just 2 more minutes and let's get started because more people um, is going to watch us on Facebook. Maybe they can go into the Zoom meeting, but they are going to watch us and in Facebook Live. So yes, thank you. Uh, let's just wait 2 couple minutes and thank you so much. Okay. Yes, Eva said that she would like to see you guys. If you can turn on your cameras, it
Yeah,
will be
I'd like
good.
to say hi to people when I see them.
Of course. Yes. Okay.
Diana, Anna, Marcos, and Juan. Ah, there's Diana. Hi, Diana.
Hi, nice to meet
Nice
you.
meeting you.
Thank you.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, good morning.
Delighted to see you and meet you. Are you all students?
Well, I'm her cousin. I'm Diana's cousin.
Ah, okay. And you, Diana? Are you a student?
Yeah, I'm a medical student.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're going to start in a minute. Okay. We have another person here in the waiting room. She's from Poland, actually. Yeah, the girl that is joining us right now, Magdalena. She's from Poland, and Diana and Anna from Mexico. Marcos from Spain. So yeah, thank you all of you for
Wow.
joining this meeting.
Magdalena. Hi. Angie.
Yes. Okay. Eva was saying that if you can turn on your camera, it will be great because she wants to say hello. So if you can, if you don't, if you can, don't worry. But yes, it will be nice for all of us to see each other, right? We are in our homes, like, and we don't see anybody, and you know, it's important to like see each other. So okay. I think we're going to start. Maybe more people is going to join the meeting. Some of
Okay.
them sometimes they can't or they can, but in Facebook they are going to watch us. I think. So okay, I will try to to start the Facebook Live.
Hi, Magdalena. Yeah, I won't bite. Just show your faces.
Yeah, thank you for turning on your cameras. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing this of streaming
Hi,
live.
Angie. Michelle.
Okay, just wait me a minute. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to, okay, we're going to start in a couple of minutes. I'm just trying to stream live in Facebook this meeting. Okay, yeah, it's loading. So yeah, we're almost there. So thank you everyone that is joining us in this moment. We're going to hear Eva's story. So I think it will be so interesting for all of you, and we will learn too much about her. So thank you so much. So, okay.
Oh, I'm glad to see everybody. Hi, everyone.
Okay. I think we are now live on Facebook. Yeah, we are live on Facebook. I think my mom is going to send the link in the chat of this meeting, so you can share this stream so many people can watch it. But hello, like officially to everybody. Thank you for being in this meeting. Thank you, Eva, for being here with us and to be brave to tell your story. Thank you so much. I think it's an interesting story because you were German and Jew, right? It's a interesting story because we would like to know what happened to that Jews that lived in Germany, right? So thank you so
Well,
much.
no, I was just born in Germany.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not that you're German, you just were born there, but thank you so much. So I will start with some questions, and
Okay.
at the end, I will leave a couple minutes if you guys want to make Eva a question. It will be awesome. So thank you so much. Okay, Eva, the first question I have is, can you tell us where you were born and how was your childhood with your family?
I was born in Germany in May of 1932, a few months before Hitler became chancellor. And my father immediately lost his job. He could not work anymore because he was a Jew. And my mother was still a medical student at the university, and she could not continue her studies. She was thrown out of the university within a few months after Hitler came to power. And my father was very fortunate to get an offer from a colleague in Paris to come over there to work with him. They were both patent attorneys, and they worked together over the borders because patents, you know, you work with all kinds of countries. When you have a patent attorney, you patent new inventions in different countries. So he had this wonderful colleague in Paris who invited him to come over if things in Germany got bad. So my parents had the wisdom and the opportunity to leave Germany very early before the end of 1933. And so I grew up in France. I don't remember, I had a very uneventful childhood. By the time the war started, I was only 7 years old. but I have a few memories from my childhood. I had two little brothers born 3 and 7 years after me. So one is 3 years younger than me. The other one came 4 years after my first brother. I had a second brother who are, by the way, still living in Paris.
Oh, I think I have a photo of, well, in your ebook I was reading, I think it was a photo of you and your siblings. So can I show it?
Sure, sure.
Okay, I think this is it, right? I think it's going to show.
Yes,
Yes.
that is actually, I don't remember where that is. This is probably towards the end of the war. I must have been 12. My brother on the left was 9 and the little one was 5.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in 1944. Yeah.
Yes, and then that's you too, right?
Yeah, that's
you,
me
Eva.
at 2 years or 15, 18 months or something. Yeah.
Wow.
So we went to France when I was 18 months old. So I don't remember anything from Germany. And I grew up in France. So after the birth of my brothers, I remember in August 1939, my paternal grandparents came over from Germany. At the last, they were able to leave Germany in August of 39, and they came to live with us. And my grandfather started telling jokes to me. He was really a jokester. He loved jokes. And I inherited that love of telling jokes. No one else in my whole family is telling jokes.
Oh,
They
that's
don't
good because
mind,
you
but
always keep
they
happy
tell
and you
jokes.
want to make happy people happy, right?
Yeah. And he gave me a book of fairy tales in German. And I became a lover of fairy tales, and I became a very romantic, very sentimental young woman. My other grandparents, my mother's parents, were able to leave Germany in March of 39. And my father had sent them tickets to go to Shanghai, to China, like many Jews from Europe who went to China as well. China was accepting Jewish refugees. And when they got to Marseille, instead of boarding the ship to Shanghai, they went to Palestine on one of those illegal ships like the Exodus. I don't know if you've seen the movie The Exodus, but illegal ships to Palestine that was still under British rule. And they were for 6 months on the ship. They arrived in Palestine, and then they were sent away, and they went to Cyprus into another camp. And they were 6 weeks on the water, and they had to give all of their possessions down to their wedding rings just to get a potato or a piece of bread to eat and some water to drink.
Wow.
It was a horrible, horrible trip, but they made it to Palestine, where my mother's younger brother had gone already in 1934 with his bride. So I have family in Israel.
Oh, that's nice. And
But so
yes.
nobody in my immediate family has died during the Holocaust, but my mother had a list of relatives and friends this long in her prayer book on Yom Kippur, of people who died during the Holocaust, either bombings or starvation or typhus in the concentration camps, or however else they died during the Holocaust.
Wow. Do you mean like some relatives of your mom died in the Holocaust?
Yes, and aunts and uncles. Two of my maternal grandfather, 3 of his brothers had even died in the First World War. You know, all these Jews in Germany thought, oh, they won't touch us. We are good German citizens. We fought in the First World War for Germany. They won't do anything to us. We are safe. But no Jew was safe in Germany. But many aunts and uncles of my parents and their ancestors, many people died in the family whom I never met. I never met anybody of them, but mother made family trees that are this big, and on every other name, it says died in Auschwitz, Treblinka, Majdanek, died in Berlin during a bombing. You know,
Wow.
but I never knew these people. I was lucky that my immediate family all survived.
I know that's a miracle, right? As you,
Yes.
as
Yeah,
you
my life is a life of miracles. I count my blessings every single day.
Yes, that's nice because we shouldn't, yeah, as you said, count our blessings because there's many people that it's suffering, and your family survival, it's a miracle, and that's why Eva has a book of her life that it's called. Can you tell us the name of the book?
Eva's Uncommon Life, Guided by Miracles.
Yeah, it's a nice book I'm reading, so I will send you guys the link if you want to buy it. But yes, I think it was a miracle,
You
and
can
it was
also
so
read it
bad,
on
right?
ebook.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, because even if they were German citizens, you know, they had to escape because they were Jews, and I think that's a terrible thing. But yeah, always the wars are that way. But okay, I wanted to ask you, can you tell us a summary of how did your family survive? I know that you called like many miracles. You said they happened like many
Yes.
miracles for they to survive.
Well, my father took my first brother and me further south from Paris. And my mother was left up there with her in-laws and my little brother, who was just a few months old. He was born in April of 39. So when the war started, he was just a small baby. My father took the two of us and he took archives of the office down south because the Germans were invading from the north. And my father was asked to take the archives with him and to save them. They didn't want Germans to take those archives, which had to do with national security in France. And it also saved my father's life. His colleague felt that it would also be good for my father to disappear. My father looked more Jewish than my mother. And so we lived in that little castle. And at one point we had bombs falling. We ran into the basement. And when we came back up from the basement after the end of the alert, we found that a big piece of shrapnel or bomb had come through the glass roof of the veranda under which my father had his desk chair and his desk. And that piece of bomb went straight to his chair, through the ceiling and through his chair. Had he stayed at his desk, he would have been killed instantly.
Yeah,
So
I think it's
just one of those things, yeah.
such a
It
traumatic
became
experience, right? To be in your in your home and to like listen the bombs and all these as a
yeah, we heard the sirens and we ran into the basement.
yes.
Also came down with acute appendicitis. I had to be operated on immediately. And fortunately, there was a good surgeon from Paris who was right in that town near where we were and who operated on me right away. And he told my father that I was lucky that he got to me at that time, because 24 hours later, I would have been dead.
Wow.
So,
Yes, I think those little miracles saved all of you, right? All your family, because maybe we think, oh, you didn't went through concentration camps, but you were in the war, you know. It was always in danger. You were always in danger of Nazis and
oh yeah,
German soldiers.
we were never found to be taken to a concentration camp, but we were always hunted. You know, all the Jews, whoever was a Jew, they were after us. So where we were, my father and my brother and I became also dangerous because the Germans were coming down more and more south. And we went to Lyon. I don't know if you have a map of Lyon somewhere, but you can take a look from Paris to the middle of France down to Lyon. And then my mother, in the meantime, my grandfather in Paris died of pneumonia very suddenly. And my mother was left with the baby and my grandmother, who was also very sick, sickly. And my mother and the baby and her mother-in-law came down to come down to join us in Lyon. But they had to they had to pass the demarcation line between the free zone and the occupied zone. And the people there, the official there was very nasty. He heard my mother speaking with a German accent. And he said, "Oh, you foreigners, we don't want you here, but oh, well, you and the baby, you can go. The old lady stays behind." And my mother made such a fuss. She said, "No way can I leave her behind. As I have to stay with her. And if anything happens to us, it will be on your conscience." And she made such a fuss that he finally said, "Well, just blast off."
Yes, that's a miracle. That was a miracle too, because it was so dangerous, right? To cross
Yeah.
that border, for example, and also, yeah, obviously they didn't want, old people and always obviously foreigners. So, yes, wow.
Yeah. And you read in my story, you heard of the story of the trunks that happened before, where my mother didn't know what was in the trunks when she had to pass customs for them. And the official there was very nasty, a French guy who said, "Oh, you all foreigners, why don't you go home to where you came from? We don't need you here." And she made such a fuss, and she was pregnant to, she was 8.5 months pregnant with an 8-pound baby. So she was huge, and she got so red in the face that he got afraid she was going to have a baby right there and then. So he said, "Just take off, take your junk and leave." And when she got home, she found that my grandfather, under all the old clothes that she thought she was finding, she also found a lot of jewelry and silver, which my grandfather wanted to save before he left Germany for Palestine. So had she known what was in those trunks, she would have not been so genuinely angry at the police, at the customs official. So again, sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, that's true, right? Because your mom, she didn't know that in these trunks, her dad sent.
She was a very strong woman. Yeah.
Yes, wow.
Strong personality. And by the way, let me tell you before I forget, we owe our lives to many people who were not Jews, French people who knew we were Jews and who helped us, or who, if they couldn't help us, at least they didn't betray us, because we had friends. My parents had friends who were betrayed by the French, and the Nazis came in the middle of the night to pick them out of their beds and take them straight to Auschwitz. From where we were, it's so close to where they left from Lyon. From Lyon, there was a whole convoy going straight to Auschwitz.
Wow.
So we lived in Lyon for a while, and by 1942, my mother decided that they decided, both my parents, that they had to put the children somewhere where they would be safe. So my mother went to the central France, into the mountains, looking for a children's home that would take us. And they were all full. She went to many of them. They were all full to capacity, except the very last one, a mile and a half from the small village. And the lady there, Madame Montonex, said, I will take your children. And my mother saw a crucifix on the wall. And she said, "I see that you are a devout Christian woman, and I respect that, but I hope you are not going to try and convert my children." And Madame Montonex assured her that she wouldn't, and she never did. So she took the three of us, and my mother went back to Lyon. And she came to visit once or twice. And and then about 9 months later, once she was visiting with us, and she got a message from my father, a telegram saying, "Stay up there, I'm coming." Because my father decided it's time he left Lyon as well. He was now in danger as well. So my parents came to live in Autran, in that little village, which before the war had 1,000 inhabitants. And during the war, it had 2,000 people living there, which means half the population was in hiding from the Nazis.
Yes.
All Jews. There were black marketeers and Romanis and other people who needed to hide from the Nazis.
I think
My mother, pardon?
Oh no, I was going to say that thank God they sent you their children to this like school, or because obviously being a child, it was so dangerous because they took the children and killed them. So
so they came to that village and rented the yellow house, the upstairs of a yellow house, an apartment. And then they took us in as well. So we lived in Autran, the 5 of us, upstairs from our landlord and landlady, who were not Jewish and who knew we were Jews, and they were risking their lives. This is Clairefontaine. Oh, this is the home for children where we were for 9 or 10 months, just the 3 of us. So in 1942, when we went there, I was 10. My brothers were 7 and 3. And so, so we lived in that yellow house, and I was able to go to school, to a boys' school, which took a few girls at that time because of the circumstances during the war. My father went on his bicycle to pick up food from farmers, 1 egg here, a cup of milk there, straight from the cow. He exchanged his ration tickets, his cigarette and alcohol tickets, and gave money to get food for us 3 times a week on his bicycle. I learned to make butter because we collected the cream on the milk to make butter. My father had found a cave in the mountains that he was looking for a place where we could possibly hide if the Nazis came up the mountain.
There were a lot of Jews hiding in caves, right?
Yes, there were a lot of Jews hiding there. Yeah, and the population knew who they were, but they were good. And my father had found 3 farmers who were willing to take each one of us, children, if the Nazis really came up the mountain and came to Autran, our village, that they could farm us out to those farmers, and the farmers would just say if the Nazis came to the farm, this is my nephew or my niece from Lyon. They didn't have enough to eat down in the city. And it's true that people were hungry. So we took him in, or her, because here we have some food. And 2 or 3 times, my parents quickly took us to those farms when we heard that the Germans were coming. How did we hear the Germans were coming? We didn't have TVs. They didn't exist in those days. We didn't have telephone in our apartments. It was through the post offices. The first post office at the bottom of the hill, when they saw that the Germans were trying to come up, and there were several false alerts because the Germans always tried to come up, but the roads were very windy and very narrow, mountain roads. And for their heavy equipment, it was just too hard to go. So several times they tried and they retreated. And the first post office, when they saw them at the bottom of the mountain coming up, they would call the next post office. And the next post office would call the 3rd post office. Every time a post office heard the news, the Nazis are coming up, 2 people would run to 2 places. One would run to the hotel, one to the baker. From the hotel and the baker, 2 people would run to there and there and there and there. And within 5 minutes, everybody who had to run to disappear in the forest knew the Nazis are coming. And we just left our homes and ran. And we had several false alerts, but nothing happened until much later, which I'll get to.
Yes, and what?
Father had found a cave where he hid some water, drinking water, and some money and some hard-boiled eggs in case my parents had to run into the forest and stay there for a while in some kind of a cave and you could not see you would not have been able to see them from the trail. My father continued to work, which we owe so much to the man in Paris who had invited him in the first place to come over in 1933. He sent a secretary from Lyon to Grenoble by train once a week she would bring new files to work on. My father would take the bus up from Autran down to Grenoble to meet her, and he would take with him the files that he had worked on during the week. So he always had new files to work on, and he continued to work even though we were in Autran in hiding, thanks to Monsieur Placereau, to whom we owe a great deal of gratitude.
Yes.
So he continued to earn a living.
Yeah, the non-Jews were helping you, right? I think it was like the boss of your dad or something, right? The one that was helping you. Like,
I mean, yeah, they were helping my father to earn a living, to have money to buy food, you know.
yes.
Um,
What did you think, like, as a little girl?
fortunate. We were so fortunate.
Yeah.
As a child, I knew we were always living in some kind of fear, but I was not as fearful and anxious as my parents because I didn't really realize how bad things were. And while we were in Autran, actually, we never heard about what was happening in Poland and Germany and the Ukraine and all the Holocaust that was happening there. My parents only heard about it after the war because they listened to the BBC radio from England. The French radio was in the hands of the Nazis, so there were no news there. So they listened to the BBC, putting the radio under a cushion so that nobody could hear that we were, because it was forbidden to have a radio. And but we never heard about the Holocaust, what was happening to the millions of Jews in Central Europe. So we lived like this until, June 6, 1944, the Americans came to D-Day, came to embark in Normandy. And we all were so rejoicing because we were hoping that they would help to just squash the Germans. And on Bastille Day, 14th of July, we went on a picnic to the top of a mountain. And as we were eating there, we saw planes coming. And my father said, I hope these are American planes. And we watched them go over us. And then they looked and they started bombing our valley down below us. And so we decided, well, no, these are German planes. And we ran down the hill and my father said, okay, this is it. I'm now going into the underground army of the French resistance, because if I am to die, I will die with a weapon in my hand. And he and two men friends of his left Autran and left the women and the children by themselves to fend for themselves. And they went to join the underground forces. And within 2 weeks after that, the Nazis really came to our village. Oh, and I remember that as if it were yesterday. We saw little silhouettes coming at dusk down the hill. And the next day we opened our blinds and we saw a farm burning there and a farm burning there and a young man, 17 years old, who was not Jewish, who had nothing to fear. He saw them arrive and he ran and they shot him in the field as he was running. Just gratuitous death for nothing. He had nothing to fear. Anyway, I remember that as if it were yesterday. The Germans, the next day, there was a knock on our door downstairs because our landlord and landlady lived downstairs from us and we had one entrance to the house downstairs. They lived in the downstairs and we lived on the second floor. So 2 Nazis were at the door. They didn't know any French. Our landlord didn't know any German. So our landlord called my mother, Madame, can you come and help me? And I don't know, I can't imagine how my mother must have felt leaving 3 kids upstairs, walking down the stairs to meet those Nazis. She played translator. Our landlord said, please help me understand what they want. And they wanted a room in the house to sleep, a bedroom. They would eat their meals downstairs at our landlord and landladies, and they needed a bedroom. So our landlord said to her, well, your husband is not here. Why don't you give your bedroom? And I will give you a foldable bed to take to the attic so you can go sleep in the attic. And my mother spoke a very bad German with a French accent, putting just words together without really making grammatical sentences. And the two Nazis who stayed for 2 weeks in our house and slept next to us, next to the 3 Jewish children, never knew that my mother spoke German just as well as they did. I mean, it took quite a bit of courage and strength. And she was just amazing. They never knew we were Jews, and we were blonde and blue-eyed. My father was away, thank God he left 2 weeks earlier or 3 weeks earlier. He looked more Jewish than us. Do you have a picture? Did I send you a picture of my parents?
Yes, I think I have. Okay.
We were all blonde and blue-eyed. My father had blue eyes also, but he had a good Jewish nose and a tall forehead and little hair. He looked like an intellectual. Oh, that is my parents on their engagement day. So you see, he looks more Jewish than she does.
Yes.
Thank you, Sam.
No, that when I read that experience that you had to have these 2 Nazis for 2 weeks in your house, I was like, wow, that must be like frightening, you know. Obviously, you as children, you didn't notice everything, but of course, the fear that you have, and your mom was so brave to have them there and to
stay in our room. We stayed in our room. But the orderly, one of the German, the colonel, this was the orderly with him. The orderly came into our kitchen to bake a chocolate cake for his boss. And my mother was hoping that he would give us a few crumbs for her children, but he didn't give her anything. But she stood there while he was baking, speaking pidgin German, just terrible German with a French accent, and just showing that she wasn't afraid. That was what she had to do. So she spent 2 weeks in the attic, and instead of sleeping, she spent the 14 nights at the window because she was afraid. She had no news from my father, and she didn't know if he was still alive. But she was afraid that if he came home by any chance at night, while it was dark, he might throw a pebble against the bedroom window to alert her so that she could come downstairs and unlock the door downstairs, which was locked at night. So she was so afraid, so she stayed at the window for 14 nights. Wow. She didn't sleep. I don't know how she did it. But that is what she had to do during the war. It was a matter of life or death.
Were you like afraid, like with fear at that time as a child? What did you feel, you know, like?
Well, I was afraid, yes, but I mean, I wasn't panicky. My mother probably was panicking. But I mean, I wasn't as afraid. The one thing I was really afraid was when my mother sent me with my milk jug to a neighbor to get some milk from 2 spinster ladies, and I had to walk on a little path, a little road, which is only big for 1 car and unpaved. And as I was walking with my milk jug, a few Germans came towards me. Young Nazis came towards me and said, "Hello, little blondie," in German. And I just looked at my feet and I walked. I did not look at them. I didn't run. I just walked. And there I was really afraid, but nothing happened. They went their way. I went mine. That is when I was the most afraid. Those few seconds there.
Yes, and thank God they didn't know you were Jewish, right? So that's why you.
No, I was blonde and blue-eyed. I looked like a good, little German girl. Actually, the colonel was sitting with our landlord against the wall of the house one day in the sunshine, and the German was looking at my little brother, 4 years old, 5 years by then, on the swing. And he said, you see that little boy over there, this little blondie over there? He reminds me of our nice German children. Little did he know that it was a Jewish child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
we
when
did not fit exactly the stereotype of Jews, you know,
yes,
dark
that's
hair, dark
like an
eyes, and
example of
long
how
nose.
we are all the same, right? But obviously they didn't think about that. They were so cruel and so bad. But yes, and do you remember another like hard experience of being hiding all those years?
No, not really. Life,
Okay, and
I remember all kinds of little things, but um, at one point, actually, after the Germans left, and we were lucky that they didn't burn the house down and kill all the inhabitants of the house, because that is what they usually did when they stayed somewhere. But they didn't have time. They were told in a hurry to leave. Thank God it was the end of August 1944. So they were already starting to lose the war, and they were given the order to leave in a hurry. We were lucky, so lucky. My mother came back from shopping, and I told her, Maman, the priest from the church up on the hill came to see you, but you weren't there, so he left you a message on the kitchen table. So my mother went up the stairs with jellied legs. She was afraid of what she would find there. And the note was on a piece of paper from a notebook, which it looked like it had been torn out of a notebook. And it said, Commander Levier and Mr. G, my father, Gutmann was my maiden name, Mr. G are okay, but they need civilian clothing and money. Could one of the wives, preferably Madame G, my mother, who was more alert than the other lady and stronger, could she come by bicycle and bring us those things? So my mother, without even thinking of going to go see the priest to find out how he got that piece of paper, and she just packed us, all three children, back to the home for children where Madame Montonex took us in. She had said, if anything happens, give me your children with their bundle, their clothes, and we take them in. And my mother rented a bicycle, and the young daughter, 17 years old, of my father's friend said to my mother, I'm going with you. So the two of them packed their lunch and took their bicycles up the hill, up the mountain, and up on the top of the pass. They sat down and ate their lunch, and then they took their descent towards Grenoble. And my mother immediately noticed that her brakes were not working. And it was a gravelly mountain road with lots of curves. And she had a few seconds of terrible anxiety. What is going to happen? Either I'll go into the abyss, down in the abyss, or I go against the rock. What is going to happen? And thank God, both women slipped on the gravel and fell in a curve and were dragged a few feet on the gravel, and they were too wounded to continue their route with a finger broken and whatever. But I mean, nothing fatal, but their journey was over. And my mother, I remember, she wrote this one story of the war. She was, you know, desperate. How will I find my husband now? How will I get to him? In the meantime, so they sat next to the rock waiting for somebody to come and pick them up and maybe take them for some medical care. And in the meantime, my father and his friend had been discharged from the underground army. They were told, we are too few, just save yourselves. We are disbanding the camp. And so those two men wanted to come home to Autran, but our area was still full of Nazis who had completely destroyed the whole area in the plain before going up into the mountain. It was just a carnage down there, down below, and they avoided this whole area. So my father had to make a huge detour to come back to Autran, and he found my mother on the road. He hitchhiked and found my mother on the road against the wall, against the rock. And if that accident had not happened, that was a God-sent accident, because had this accident not happened, my mother and her friend would have gone straight into Nazi hands. They would have taken a different road from the one that my father took, and they would have disappeared.
Yeah, that was another miracle, right? Because if your mom didn't have this accident, she maybe would be dead, you know?
Exactly. They would have disappeared. The two women would have gone. They would have gone to their death with men's clothing on their bicycles. They would have been very suspicious of helping the underground fighters. So that is the greatest miracle of the war for us, that accident, the bicycle accident.
Wow.
I heard Madame Montonex came to tell us children, your parents are fine, they'll be here in 2 or 3 days. That's all I knew at the time. And so by October or November 1944, Lyon had been liberated. The Germans were now being pushed back up north from the south. Oh, excuse me. No.
Don't worry.
Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, so we were able to go back to Lyon. Oh, another miracle that I forgot, when my mother started setting up shop in Autran, she only had a little pack with a change of clothes because she had come to visit us when my father said, stay up there. So she went back to Lyon one day to pick up a few things from her kitchen that she absolutely needed to set up shop. And she nearly missed her train coming back. I mean, this is all in my story. I don't have time here to tell it all, but she escaped by absolute miracle. She ran across one bridge, across the Rhone River. She had to, because the station was on the other side of the river. So she ran across that river and she made it to the train as the guy was whistling for departure. And as she was at the window, standing at the window of the compartment, still taking off her hat to put it in the thing upstairs, up on top, she was looking out, and the train was passing on its own railway bridge. And she was looking at the bridge she had just crossed 5 minutes earlier. And she saw that the Germans had cordoned off the bridge at both ends and were asking for papers. Everybody had to show their papers. And my mother's identity card, we didn't have driver's licenses in those days. We didn't have a car yet. Her identity card made her Gutmann, Charlotte Gutmann, born in Driesen, Germany. She would have gone. She would have disappeared.
Yes. And that's another miracle, right? Because
yeah, another miracle. I mean, a matter of minutes. I mean, a matter of 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah,
that missed her train, and she escaped the raffle on the bridge.
Wow.
And there were more miracles than the rest of my life. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a long book, as I said, the one you wrote, but it's a really good book. If you guys want to read it someday, I will leave the link here in the chat. Is there? But and what happened to you after the war? Well, obviously not all your life, you know, but when war ended.
Yeah, the war ended. I was 12. No, 13. And I started up schooling. I picked up schooling, and we eventually, after 1 year in Lyon, we went back to Paris, and we were again in the same villa that my parents had rented before the war. It was again available, and we lived there again in the suburbs of Paris. And my father bought his first car. I remember a Peugeot 203, which he babied. And I went to school. When I was 18, I graduated from high school, and I did not know what I wanted to do with myself. I didn't feel that I was gifted for anything. I was not particularly interested in anything. So my parents decided to send me to live in Israel for a year. So I learned Hebrew. I got to know my relatives, my grandparents there, who had bought a little grocery store, and my uncle and aunt and my cousins. So it was nice that the family got together. I was not very happy with the people I lived with. They were old friends of my parents from Germany, and the woman especially made my life miserable. But I had an aunt who made it, on whose shoulder I could go to cry every so often. And that aunt, a wonderful friend who came to visit from Jerusalem. And one day, as I was visiting, this friend invited me to Jerusalem. And eventually, 7 years later, she would send me my husband. That's
Wow.
my life is a total chain of events. If I had known better that I wanted to go, in those days, you became either a teacher or a nurse. Girls didn't think of going into business. I mean, it never occurred to me. Had I decided what I wanted to do, then I would not have probably been sent to Israel. Had I not been sent to Israel, I would not have met that woman in Jerusalem who eventually sent me my husband. And that was...
Your love story, it's great. I know it's so long, but it's so cute.
Yeah, it was such a miracle. I mean, I was not interested in Americans. I got his letter the day before I met him. Dear Miss Goodman, your name was given to me by Mrs. Waxman from Jerusalem. I'm coming to Paris for 3 days and I'd love to meet you. I'll be at hotel such and such with a phone number. Sincerely yours, Eva Perlman. So I called him that night. That was the 22nd of June, 1956, a Friday. That night I called his hotel. They hadn't heard who he was because he came in very late. He went to a synagogue for Sabbath services on Friday night. He was lonely and he met a girl and they spent several hours talking in a cafe until 2 in the morning or something. So he got very late into his hotel. So, and I had left the message, have him call me at 12 noon the next day, the 23rd of June, Saturday. And at 12 noon, I was home. I was waiting for his phone call and I canceled a few things that I wanted to do that afternoon with my friends because I had this American sent to me by my friend and I felt obliged to her, to take him to see the sights for 2 days, for 2 hours. I wasn't interested at all, even though since the age of 16, I wanted to meet my soulmate. And I was 24 when we met. So whenever I met a young man, I was thinking before I met him, will he be the one? And I knew I jinxed it. The minute I thought that, it was over. So I thought, I'll never get married. I'll never find a husband. I was the wallflower anywhere. When I went to a dance, nobody invited me, it was just awful. And I was 24 years old. I thought, I'll never find a husband. And with this American coming through Paris, it never occurred to me that he could be the one. Never. He was American. America was far away. And I wanted to go to Israel in those days. I wanted to immigrate to Israel and I became a nurse. I was a nurse and a pediatric nurse. So
I was going to put
that
no,
one.
that photo, no, but that, yeah, you heard of her.
Yeah,
nurse.
I was a nurse. So he didn't call at 12 and he called at 1 and I was fuming by then because I didn't know that he just got my message at 1 o'clock when he got to the reception. And I said, well, come and pick me up at 2. You know where I live since you were here yesterday. Pick me up at 2. We'll go see a few sites. He wasn't there at 2. He wasn't there at 2:15 or 2:25. 2:35, the bell rang, the doorbell. And I really stomped to the door and I was mad by then. I was mad. This guy was disturbing my whole life. And I opened the door And we looked at each other speechless. One look did it. It was amazing.
Wow.
We went down the 5 flights after this, just looking at each other in amazement.
Love at first sight.
Pardon?
Love at first sight, right?
Yeah, I mean, really at first sight. After 24 hours, he said to me, you know, my friends are coming in 2 days to pick me up to go off a tour of Europe. I'm thinking of staying here to get to know you better because there's a strong possibility that we might want to get married.
Wow.
I said, okay.
One day after meeting you, right?
Yeah. And then his friends came and went on their tour. And when they came back from their trip, 5 weeks later, we were married.
Wow. Yeah, I think he asked you for marrying him like 3 weeks after knowing you or something like that, right?
13 days. No, after the first day, we were talking like we were saying, if we get married, we'll do this. And if we get married, we'll do that. And after 13 days, he said, okay, let's get married. And I said, okay. No,
Wow, I think that's
you
a
married.
miracle.
No, I mean, it was a fait accompli when I opened the door. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, it was one of those seconds in life that changes your whole life.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I mean, we had a wonderful life together. We lived in England where he did his PhD in social anthropology. We lived in Uganda for 3 years. And then we came to America in 1963 to Berkeley, where he got a job as an assistant professor in the sociology department, in the social anthropology department. And we had 3 children by then.
Wow.
Which were born in Africa.
I
I've had a very, this is Mel and me a week after our wedding in Paris on a bateau mouche, a little boat that goes on the Seine in Paris with tourists, you know, which goes down the river and shows the sights to tourists. And there we were. Yeah, that's our civil wedding. We were married in a synagogue 2 months later in America. We went to America together because my parents, another of those things, my parents had decided for their 25th wedding anniversary to go to America for the first time because they had friends and some relatives, some distant relatives in America. And 10 months before I met my husband, they had their tickets on a ship to America in September 56. So they were able to be, so we decided to include my husband's family in our religious wedding, so we would get married in his temple, in his synagogue in Kansas City.
Wow. I think it's a beautiful story, right? Because
I mean, and how he got accepted at Oxford a month before school started, when other people had to apply a year before to be able to be taken. I mean, my whole life is just an incredible sequence of miraculous events that turned the right way. I mean, we also had some problems along the way, but nothing to compare with the blessings we encountered along the way.
yes, of
And
course.
I read one of my big miracles at the end, at the first time I went to Israel on the March of the Living.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you that if you ever gone to some commemorance event or something. So yeah, can you tell us about the March
Yeah,
of the
that
Living?
was another miracle. I was invited to go with my children to a Sabbath morning service, a Saturday morning in one of our synagogues here in the San Fernando Valley. And she said some singer is coming that they knew very well and loved. I didn't know him. So because they invited me, I said, okay. I could have just as well said, no, I don't want to. I don't feel like going to a service. Our services are very long things on Saturday morning. It may last 2.5 hours. So it's too long. I'm not much of a synagogue goer, except for the high holy days, you know. And I could have just as well said no, but because my daughter invited me, I said, okay. And we had lunch there after the service. We had lunch at the synagogue, and there were two students there who talked about the March of the Living, who had just come back from it a month previously. So I heard for the first time of the March of the Living. I could have just as easily missed it if I had said no to my daughter.
Yes.
And I suddenly thought, you know, I had never gone to Poland, never seen a concentration camp. And actually what I forgot to say is I grew up with a huge complex of inferiority after the war. Being Jewish in a country, France, mostly Catholic and kind of anti-Semitic, and being born in Germany, that we just came out of a war against the Germans, French against the Germans. So I felt like a second-class citizen. And being a wallflower, I was very shy, and the whole thing, you know, I had nothing to talk about. So that's how I grew up. And this March of the Living, suddenly, when I heard those two students and what they said about what it did for them, what this trip of 2 weeks did for them, how much it enhanced their Judaism. They finally understood really what happened, because 1 week in Poland is worth more than a whole year in a university learning about the Holocaust. When you see the mountains of shoes and hair and eyeglasses and crutches in Auschwitz, it's quite an education in itself. And of course, they are accompanied by survivors like me who tell them their story of survival. So
Yes.
I finally became somebody who had something to say. And the students loved me also because I told them jokes in the evenings. And I finally found my mission in life in my 80s, my purpose in life. Why was I saved all these years ago? Because I always asked myself, I even wrote it, because I started writing my book more than 20 years ago, just stories. And I wrote, why were we preserved by so many miracles when so many people, innocent people, were taken to their death? And I now found my purpose. Why was I saved? To go on the March of the Living, to talk about the Holocaust and what happened and how we survived.
Wow, that's a really nice mission that you have, right? So thank you for doing that. For anybody that doesn't know what March of the Living is, this is an event of commemorance to the Holocaust that it's in Poland. Each year, the day where Auschwitz was liberated, right?
An annual trip for 12th graders, 18-year-olds, just before they graduate from high school and start going to university. And we go for 1 week to Poland. We visit, we learn about Jewish life in Poland before the war. The most Jews in the world were in Poland before the war. And we learn, we visit old cemeteries and old synagogues. And we, of course, visit all the concentration camps. We go with guides and teachers who tell us a lot of stories of things that happened there. And it's a very educational trip. So after 1 week in Poland, we go to Israel, and there we are having a lot of fun.
Wow, it's a beautiful purpose, you know.
Sunshine.
You
After the dreary week in Poland, even though it's a beautiful country, but
yes.
I always imagined it black and white and dreary and foggy and misty. And it's really a beautiful country. But after visiting all the concentration camps and learning of all this death, it is so wonderful to go to Israel, where there is life and beauty and sunshine, and the ocean is gorgeous. Yeah. So I've done that years in a row, 2011 to 2019. Just my discovery of the Holocaust was miraculous for me. It just happened. And I suddenly had this feeling that I need to go. even if it's just in memory of all those ancestors of mine whom I never knew during the Holocaust. And eventually in Auschwitz, I met some some German women belonging to a Christian group working for Israel. And we had a good time together. One of these women especially is more versed in the Bible, in the Torah than I am. And she gave me a big hug and she said, I thank the Lord Almighty for having preserved you all these years. And cried and we exchanged emails and she has become a very good friend. And I made another friend who worked for Jews all her life because her father was he was an SS during the war and he hated the Jews with a passion. And she decided to become a history teacher, to teach tolerance and to teach bigotry and against anti-Semitism and all this. And she invited me to come to Berlin, where I was born. So more than 80 years after I left my country of birth at 18 months of age, I went back to Berlin. And she took me to see the building where my father had his office and the school where my grandfather was the director of the school and a teacher there. And I saw the university where my mother was a student. And they took me to Driesen, to that little village where my mother was born. And
I think
so I had a wonderful time there, and my hatred of the Nazis is still there. I mean, I cannot forgive or forget the Nazis and what they did, but my hatred of Germany of today and Germans today is gone. So this, thank goodness to the March of the Living, which has had effect on me as well as on the students.
I was going to say that it's so important to go back to our roots, right? Because you can understand what happened and not repeat the things that were bad, you know? So for you going to, to Germany and also, Poland to understand all this Holocaust event and Israel too, for you it was like liberating, right? Because you could like not forgive, as you said, but not hate Germany or Germans. So I think that was so important for you.
But for so many years, I did not want to hear German spoken or speak German or buy anything made in Germany. I would not set foot in Germany. I mean, and so it's a complete transformation. That's why the cover of my book has this big butterfly on it.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Symbol of change and transformation.
Metamorphosis, right? Yes. Okay, I will just ask one more question and then I will leave. If anyone have a question, you can type it on the chat or tell Eva the question. But I wanted to ask you this question that I always ask. What advice do you have for us, for my generation? Because sometimes we don't value the things that we have. What advice?
Never take anything for granted. And love people, love other people, no matter what their creed or the color of their skin or their age or anything. They are people like you. Count your blessings. Never give up, you know, count your blessings. Anti-Semitism is starting again. You know, we say never again, and it had such a strong connotation until now, but I can see that it could start again. It's terrible, and now it's global. During the war, it was kind of localized on Germany, Poland, and that area in Europe, but now it is everywhere. So it makes me very anxious, fearful that this could start again.
Of course. Yes, thank you for those valuable lessons to us. We have to love everyone, to respect, right? The differences we have with other people, races, all these the difference that make us like we are all the same, as you said, right? So we should respect everyone and have this tolerance. So this would not happen again. And not just the Holocaust, all the things that we have, the all bad
Count
things.
your blessings. Count your blessings. You know, sometimes I'm living here in an assisted living facility. I'm fairly independent still, but I'm living here at the Jewish home. And we've been isolated really from the world since March 13th. I haven't driven since then. My car is full of cobwebs. And sometimes it's getting to me a little bit. And then I say, Eva, come on, think of Anne Frank. Think of what people, I've read so many books on the Holocaust. What people suffered is unimaginable. So it immediately gets me out of my funk, you know, and I count my blessings. I thank God every single day of my life. I'm not much of a synagogue goer or service goer, but I thank God every day, several times.
Yes, I think that's so important, as you said, to count our blessings, because sometimes we focus in like bad things that happen in our lives, or maybe now, right, the pandemic and all this stuff. Obviously, it's a difficult situation, but we better count our blessings because we are here, we are healthy,
Yeah.
we have family.
You can always think of somebody else who is less fortunate than you.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Eva. I will now. I would like to take a photo before the questions, so we all have.
And I would like to thank everybody for listening to all this.
Oh yes. Okay, so if you can turn on your camera, will be good. So all of us, we can be in this picture. Okay, I think they are turning on their. Okay, well, I don't know if the other ones they can. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Okay,
Oh, I
so
see everybody.
okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, I took the photo. Thank you so much. And if anyone has a question,
Any
you
questions?
can type it on the chat about Eva's life or whatever you want to ask. You can put it on the chat or raise your hand.
Unmute yourselves.
Yes, exactly. Or raise your hand if you want to make a question. Okay.
Any questions?
I think we don't have questions, or don't be shy. Ask Eva. This is a unique opportunity.
Okay, Magdalena.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a questions, but I would like to thank you for sharing your story. It was amazing. I'm even speechless because
You're very welcome.
thank you.
Okay, does anyone want to make a question or a comment? You can do it right now. Okay, I think we don't have any questions then.
Yes, Jacqueline?
Oh, Jackie, okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Eva. Now your thoughts and all your stuff.
Thank you.
I-
Michelle?
Bueno, Jackie, I think we didn't hear like so well, but did you hear Eva?
No, I didn't.
Oh, Jackie.
I just heard thank you and then I missed the rest.
Yeah.
Now you hear me, Sam?
Yes.
Sorry. So Eva, I want to tell you that.
I think something's wrong with the earphones.
Okay.
Okay, she will
Thank you.
she will type it in the chat. Okay, Juan, he wants to say something.
Yes, and all I want to say is thank you, Eva, for sharing your story. It's very important for me, and it's all I want to say. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're most welcome, Juan. Thank you.
Okay, and Marcos, he has a comment, but he can't speak, so I will read it. In the chat, he put, I cannot speak, but I write here. First of all, thanks. I should ask about if you never lose your faith during Holocaust. Primo Levi say that a low Holocaust should not exist. Thanks from Spain, the country that fascism won the war. Okay, he's asking if you didn't like lose faith through the war.
Yeah, well, I did not have much of faith until after the war when I started to learn something, because before the war, I learned very little about Judaism, except for the few things that my mother did at home. And during the war, of course, I had absolutely no Jewish education. So when after the war, I started learning something. I believe in God. I thank him every day of my life. And I'm sorry that many people felt that God did not help them, that God did not do anything during the Holocaust. I feel myself that God has created us with a beautiful, perfect body and a perfect mind, but it is up to us to use them the way we choose. We have the choice between doing good or evil. And if anything, God must have wept. He must have cried when he saw what his creatures did during the war. But it did not influence my faith. God is not, he has given us the choice. And we are human. It's our choice to do whatever we want to do.
Thank you, Eva. I think that's also another valuable lesson, because yeah, sometimes people think that God is guilty, of the bad stuff that happens in the world. And I think we are the ones that are guilty as human race. Obviously, we are not bad. Everyone, we're not bad, right? But this evil that grows inside us, that has made these things, like destroying other human beings, destroying the nature, all this. And I think, yeah, as you said, that it's like a decision, so thank you so much, Eva.
People suffered a great deal. It was maybe just a reflex to save themselves. To say, we always have to blame somebody for all our difficulties. So, it was just a reaction to what they had lived through, which is unimaginable. So.
Okay. If anyone has another question or comment, I will ask just the last question I have for Eva. But okay, Jacqueline, she wrote in the chat her comment because the earphones are failing or something. She said, "Thank you so much, Eva. Now your thoughts and your story have transcended. We will tell your story to the next generations."
Thank you. Thank you. That is what the purpose of all of this is. Thank you so much. That was Jacqueline. No, that was.
Yes.
Who said that? Jacqueline?
Yes.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you to finish this meeting. What does never again, the quote never again, means to you?
Well, I spoke about this before because I knew this question was going to come, but I hope, I mean, there are many organizations, many Jewish organizations which are trying to propel the education about the Holocaust so that it won't happen again. But as I was saying, I'm a little bit scared. So we are doing what we can. The more enlightened we are, the more knowledgeable we are, the more educated we are, the better the world will be.
Okay, yes, thank you. I think
learn tolerance. Man is not good by birth. If you give one toy to two babies, they will fight for that one toy. So we have to learn to be kind to the other person. We have to,
Thank you, Eva. Yes, I think education it's like the key of everything, for
Yes.
not being this, rule and this violent, For example, here in Mexico, we have a lot of violence. It's terrible, and all of it comes from education. So thank you so much. And I think Ana Rios,
Let's hope it never happens again.
exactly. Let's do something about it, right? That's why we are here today to talk about this and never forget what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna, do you want to say something?
Yes. First of all, I wanted to say thank you. I really appreciated listening, and it does make us think more about what we have and appreciate what we have, and to also be positive. I think that was an important part of your story as well. Also, I wanted to ask if you had any jokes you would like to share with us.
Okay. Before the joke, I would like, oh, what will I say? Oh, I know so many. I don't know which one would be the best. You put me, but I wanted to say, I end my book by saying, choose happiness. You choose to be happy. In the morning when you get up, you choose, today I'm going to be happy. If you get up in the morning and you say, oh, another day of work, and you get up like that, then you have a run in your stockings and you spill your coffee and everything goes wrong. If you get up in the morning and you say, thank you, God, for a new day, I'll be happy today, everything goes well. So you attract what you think about. That's important to know. As for a joke, oh boy. Can't think of any right now. Well, okay, I will tell you the joke that my grandfather told me when I was 7, which is a very old Jewish joke. Jewish joke. A Jew and a non-Jew are sitting in the train across from each other, and they start talking. And at one point, the non-Jew says to the Jew, how come you Jews are so intelligent? You seem to be so smart. You start life with nothing somewhere and you become successful. How do you do that? And the Jew says, well, we eat a lot of herring. We eat everything of the herring. Herring is our intelligence. We eat everything, the head, the tail, everything. Lunch comes and the Jew takes a package out of his purse, his whatever, and it's a herring in a newspaper. And as he wants to start eating his herring, the non-Jew says, I'll give you $20 for your herring. I want to become smart. No, 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 says the Jew. No way, I can't give up my intelligence for $20. $50, says the non-Jew. No, 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 no. $100 for your herring. Well, says the Jew, it's not kind to the Jew, but it's okay. Well, okay, you can have my herring. And he takes the $100. And the other one starts to eat, and it's awful. It just tastes horrible. And he eats and he eats. And after a while, he says, if with $100, I could have bought a barrel of herrings. And the Jew says, you see, it's working already.
Yes, herring, it was a fish, right? The herring.
Yeah. Yeah, what?
Herring, it was a fish, a kind of fish, right?
A whole herring, a whole fish.
Thank you so much for the joke. Yes. Thank you, Eva. I think you are so kind and you have this young spirit full of this energy, jokes, and happiness. So thank you so much for being
You're
here.
most welcome, Sam, for having me. I'm sorry, my joke didn't go well, but couldn't think of anything else right now.
No, it was good. Thank you. And it
Oh,
was
I can tell you one other one. An American goes somewhere to Europe and he has to change planes in Paris. So he has 2 hours free in Paris. So he hails a taxi chauffeur, and he says, take me to see the sights of Paris. I have 2 hours. So they pass by the big church of the Sacred Heart up on a mountain there, very beautiful church. And the American says, what's that? And the chauffeur says, it's a Sacré-Cœur. Oh, how long did it take you French people to build this? And the chauffeur says, oh, probably 25 years. Huh, in our country, says the American, it would take us no more than 10 years. Then they pass by the Arc de Triomphe. And what's that? It's the Arc de Triomphe. How long did it take you to build this? So the chauffeur is already cautious and he says, well, probably a year and a half. Ah, in our country, it would take 6 months. And then they pass by the Eiffel Tower and the American says, what's that? And the chauffeur says, that? Oh my God, it wasn't here yesterday. I don't know.
Oh, thank you. It was a nice joke. Yes, about Paris. We were just imagining all this. Thank you, Eva.
You're welcome.
And okay, just for finish.
Oh, I saw your hand go up.
Yes, I think Michelle wants to say something.
Okay.
Yes. Hi. Do you listen to me? I don't know if it's yes. Okay, thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you to you, Eva, and thank you for your smile, your story, because I think, as you said before, you really gave us or remind us what it's valuable here, no? To remember and count our blessings and choose to be happy. And I just want to thank you for that. I really appreciate hearing you and have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Just for finishing this meeting, I wanted to put here the post I made about this interview, because I think I didn't tell you, Eva, but every time I post like the announce, you know, for people to join this, I made an image like this one, and I write a little poem about the survivor. So I'm going to read it for you. This is
where did you see this?
What? Excuse me?
Where did you see this? Who made this up?
I made this so people could know about the interview.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay, I wrote this little poem that I will read to you, and it says, her family was unique and happy. They were lucky. They left their country. They hid, they covered their names. They suffered, but miraculously saved. So that's for you, Eva.
Very nice. Thank you so much. This is beautiful.
I will send it to you if you want to keep it. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And okay, we have just the last comment of Alejandra Flores here in the chat. She had to go, but she said, Eva, thank you for being so cute and sharing your experiences. We send you a hug from Mexico. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was wonderful meeting all of you.
Thank you, Eva, and thank you, everyone.
I wish you well, continue be happy and safe and healthy through this pandemic.
You too, thank you.
Enjoy life.
I want to invite everyone, and also if you want to be in the meeting, Eva, it will be nice. Next Saturday, I will have another interview with Saul Dreyer. He's a Holocaust survivor. He's 95 years old.
Wow.
He has a music band. He plays the drums at 95 years. So I wait you here. I will send the information. I don't know.
Good.
I think I know everyone that is here, but I don't know. Brian, if you want me to send you the information of these interviews, you can put your phone number or email or something in the chat right now, so I can send you the next interviews. But yeah, all of you are invited.
I'm happy to be a listener.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. So yeah, it will be a so interesting interview next one too. All of them, they're so interesting and we appreciate them. But yeah, because this man, he has he's 95 years and he has this band with three other young guys. They are 16 years old and 18. So yes, it will be a nice meeting.
Great.
So thank you so much. I will now stop the live stream. So say goodbye to Eva. If you can open your microphone, say bye. So,
thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Send you a big hug all the way from Mexico.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, I'm just waiting
Bye.
for Brian. Do you want me to send me your phone, because all of you I have the contact, but okay, just wait for that. And you can go if you wanna. Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you next next Saturday if you want. Bye.
Bye.